Hey all, and welcome to another installment of Differently Wired, the channel dedicated to smashing stigma against neurodivergent individuals and promoting acceptance of all of us who are just a little bit different. Welcome back, everyone. And first off, I really do want to say that I'm so thrilled with how much support I've been getting from all of you guys out there in internet land. Like, thank you so much for supporting this channel. I really couldn't do what I do without you guys, and I know our numbers are small yet, but we seem to be growing because we're up to 81 subscribers now. So thank you, whoever has subscribed so far, and I really hope that there's more to come. You guys all rock, seriously, thank you so much. So today's video topic is actually kind of related to why I haven't posted a new video in a little bit. Now, I'm sure all of you out there have heard me talk about executive functioning in this channel at some point or another. I might have dropped a tidbit like, I've had executive functioning issues, or I've had an EF fail, or stuff like that. But what do I mean when I say that? Because I feel like I say it a lot, but I don't really ever explain it fully. So, what exactly is executive functioning? How is it impacted in those of us who are on the autism spectrum or otherwise neurodivergent? Well, today we find out. So according to my fellow autistic blogger, Cynthia Kim, she's awesome. You should check her out even though her blog's fairly old. I've learned a lot myself from that blog, and I'll put a link in the description below. But according to Cynthia Kim, executive functioning is a broad term that refers to the cognitive processes that help us regulate, control, and manage our thoughts and actions. It includes planning, working memory, attention, problem-solving, verbal reasoning, inhibition, cognitive flexibility, initiation of actions, and monitoring of actions. So essentially, every time you need to do a thing, you need to remember to do a thing, you need to plan to do a thing, you need to motivate yourself to do the thing, all of this is called executive functioning. To paraphrase Cynthia Kim again, the executive functioning aspect of your brain, the ability of your brain, is your brain's pilot.
The best star pilot in the galaxy.
And it's responsible for getting us to do the things that we need to do, and to plan the things, and to regulate ourselves, and all of this stuff. As I'm sure you can already tell, executive functioning is impacted quite a bit in the brains of someone with autism, or an autistic person, or person with ADHD, or what have you. Our brains have a bit of a deficit, or not deficit, but different way of processing executive functioning stuff, shall we say. Executive functioning abilities can be impaired or affected in numerous ways in the brain of someone with an autism spectrum condition or other kind of neurodivergence. Just for me personally, in the writing of this video, I can think of a few offhand. Difficulty following through on tasks that don't interest me, or don't interest me as much as something else going on, because yeah, that's totally a thing. Shiny red ball. Just kidding. Losing interest in tasks that I'm working on after a while. Getting anxiety around planning and putting together a task. Basically not being able to see the forest for the trees sometimes. It's like, oh my god, I have so much to do to get this video done.
Dear God, no!
When really, I just need to, write the video, plan it out, how I'm going to record it, edit it, and post it. It's fairly straightforward, but sometimes I get anxiety around doing it. It seems insurmountable, the amount of work that I have to do to get even one of these videos out. And sometimes, I just would rather just lay in bed and play video games on my laptop. I mean, I'm starting a new file in Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker right now, so my executive functioning isn't always great because I could be doing other stuff, but I'm not. But there's no could or should here, only understanding. Anyway, I digress because I went off on a tangent there. There are more ways that I can possibly list here in terms of how executive functioning is impacted in my brain because of my place on the spectrum and because of having ADHD. But basically, as a result of both, my ability to prioritize and manage my time, manage people, organize things among a lot of other things, isn't quite where it is in neurotypical people. And it's not that these things are impossible for me to do. It's just that it takes me a little more planning to figure out how to work around it. Like, I can do all the things that a neurotypical person can do. in my own way, because I have to understand that executive functioning of my brain is different than that of a neurotypical person. So, needless to say, over 20 years of having an Asperger's diagnosis, what is now an autism diagnosis, and just recently finding out that I have ADHD, I've come up with quite a few little workarounds, and without even realizing I was doing it, I was working around my executive functioning fails. Like, the whole idea of putting things I need to bring with me the next morning in a launch pad area by the door is something I started doing before I even knew it was a common ADHD strategy. Like, that's just something that I knew how my brain works, and I did it. And it's stuff like that. Like, I guarantee you, so many people live with executive functioning issues and are not officially diagnosed one way or another, and they just have adapted to the way their brain works. And it's not to say that, like, understanding and validation wouldn't help in those cases, because it really does. But at the same time, you know, if we've survived 30 odd years on this planet, we all come up with ways of working around our own shortfalls and maximizing our strengths, whether we realize it or not. And I mean, it's not that I don't still have my struggles with this. I mean, executive functioning impacts how I'm able to organize my client load at work, how I'm able to motivate myself to go do groceries, how it even impacts my emotions, which is something else I want to talk about here too, because executive functioning is not just an organization, time management, and, oh my god, all of the things issue. It impacts emotions as well. Now, it's often said that autistic people and other neurodivergent folks feel our emotions deeply and close to the surface and truly, like we feel them passionately. And this is part of it. Like, you know, big feelings are a big part of being neurodivergent, whether you have autism or ADHD or anything else. According to the Encyclopedia on Early Childhood Development, emotional development of any kind involves the ability to feel, understand, and differentiate progressively more complex emotions, as well as the ability to self-regulate them in order to adapt to the social environment or to accomplish present or future goals. Now, that's emotional regulation as part of executive functioning. And that doesn't often, again, develop the same way it does in neurotypical people in those of us who are neurodivergent. I mean, emotional dysregulation is the number one reason why I was taken to get assessed for autism back in the 90s. I was having issues with big mood, to quote the Zoomers, big feelings, and big argumentative feelings, and there was a lot going on. And basically, emotional dysregulation was the telltale sign for me, as it has been for a lot of other people. Again, people on the spectrum, people with ADHD, people who are neurodivergent in general, we feel our feelings deeply and truly and passionately. And, like, rage is more rage-filled. Joy is more blissful. Random moments of excitement are more hyperactive and fun. You know, it's like, I can't imagine my brain working any other way because it's how I've always functioned. So the thought that other people aren't like that, it just feels weird to me, because doesn't everyone feel their emotions passionately like that? I mean, I do. Based on all of this, you might be thinking to yourself that, you know, getting rid of executive function deficits and curing them might be beneficial to people, right? I mean, that way we could all organize ourselves and get along better and regulate our emotions better. It's a thing in need of getting rid of, right? No, not necessarily. It's definitely true that people on the spectrum, people with ADHD, people who are otherwise neurodivergent, do struggle with executive functioning issues sometimes. I mean, just the other day, I made a tiny little mistake that emotionally ruined my afternoon at work because I completely screwed up on something. It's very tiny, that was easily fixed, but it still made me hyper aware of my executive functioning issues. So, I mean, again, I understand that they're difficult to deal with sometimes. Executive functioning differences in the neurodivergent brain can be very difficult to deal with sometimes, and that's completely understandable. But, big but, to go with big moods. Just as it's true that executive functioning has its deficits, it's not that we don't have executive functioning ability. among those of us who are neurodivergent. It just works differently. Like hyperfocus and hyperfixation, which I did a whole video on, is a classic part of it. Because, okay, while I can't focus worth a damn on things I'm not interested in, oh my god, can I ever get focused on something I'm super passionate about? And I can tell you everything about it. It's insane. And that goes with it. I wouldn't be able to do that if you cured my executive functioning deficit. Likewise, emotionally, yeah, okay, emotional dysregulation can be a real treat to deal with on the best of days. I also wouldn't be the passionate, happy, creative, intensely, deeply feeling person I am with, the joyous valleys and the giggle fests and all the other stuff that goes with, feeling my emotions intensely if you got rid of my executive functioning divergence, if you will. I don't think it's something that has to be cured. I think strategies are always welcome, of course, but I don't think it's something that has to be cured. Now, that being the case, though, so what kind of strategies can be beneficial to someone who has an executive functioning deficit or weirdness or shenanigans, or however you want to term it? What kind of strategies help? Well, although in my case, this particular strategy doesn't work great because the executive functioning energy level, or spoons, needed to do it, it just exceeds my grasp a little bit. So this one's not for me, but this is one that helps a lot of folks, so I'm mentioning it here. Bullet journals. The idea of a bullet journal. A bujo, if you will. I don't have a journal per se, but a bojo per se, but you'd get a book like this, a journal, at any, Chapters or Indigo in Canada, Barnes & Noble in the States, a bookstore that carries stationery. You buy one of these, you basically use it as an agenda day planner, you lay out your day, you organize your to-do lists, you do all of that stuff, and a lot of people actually get really creative and doodle and make it their own, and it's a lot of fun. And if I thought that my executive functioning could handle it, I'd actually do one myself because I really love stationery. I love stationery.
Is that the love between a man and a woman, or the love of a man for a fine Cuban cigar?
So bujo, bullet journals. That's one set. Another strategy is to-do lists. This is one I do. This is one I do a lot at work when I know I have to remember to do things the next day. I do to-do lists like they're going out of style. I also keep just random doodle notepad near me at work, so when I have to write stuff down in a hurry so I don't forget it, the page becomes an extension of my working memory, so my working memory doesn't have to remember that stuff. Because working memory is something that is impacted by executive functioning shenanigans in the neurodivergent brain. It's something I struggle with, so the page becomes an extension of it. And a to-do list, let's say tomorrow morning I need to call a client back, I need to follow up on this one thing, and I need to do something else at work. Or if you're in school, you have to do this assignment tomorrow, you do this assignment, whatever. You know that your executive functioning energy level at the end of a day is not going to allow you to start that project no matter how much you want to. You know you have to. You just... So you put it on your to-do list for tomorrow. And I have fun with this. I pretend to write letters from past Adam to future Adam regarding things that future Adam has to do. And incidentally, future Adam thinks past Adam is a real jerk because he gives him too much work to do all the time. But that's another thing. But I doodle this and I put everything that I want to do first thing the next morning. And I put it on my keyboard on my desk. So that the first thing, when I walk in, caffeine starved and grumpy and half asleep, and I sit down at my desk, the first thing I see is the note saying, "Hello, future Adam. This is what you have to do. Your to-do list." And then I list it there. I remember things far more easily that way because, again, the paper becomes an extension of your working memory. And that's how I've been able to compensate for my not-so-great working memory. I have one final suggestion, though. And it's not so much an individual one as it is something that you need a group for. But, honestly, start a support group. Meet up with like-minded local folks, and you would be surprised to learn that we're not alone. that there are many of us out there that have these kind of issues, whether they're autistic, whether they have ADHD, or any other kind of neurodivergence. People have executive functioning difficulties at times. You know, the amount of people who have these versus the amount of people who are neurotypical favor those of us who have them, I think. I think a lot of us do. So, I mean, reach out to fellow people, form a support group, get together, commiserate on your struggles, help each other with suggestions. Like, a friend of mine who has become a new friend of mine, that's a confusing train of thought, but yeah, okay. Said person, they actually started a support group because they themselves have executive functioning issues up to some degree and wanted to help others. So when they invited me to come along, as well as other people they know, I was thrilled. I said, yes, absolutely. And I went. And honestly, the community that I have found in this support group has been so beneficial to me and so helpful to me in overcoming a lot of my executive functioning foibles, or at least accepting them. You know what? Like, not judging myself, not hating on myself, or not feeling like I'm a broken human for not being able to handle these things, but actually feeling validated and like I'm not alone has been such a huge thing. Which sounds funny coming from someone who's a neurodiversity advocate doing this kind of thing. You'd think I would know that by now, but validation is important, and feeling like you're not alone in your struggles is important. And just knowing that there are people who understand how your brain works. I commiserated with them this week at group about how I couldn't bring myself to open an email from my therapist, and everyone nodded in understanding, and it was the most amazing thing ever, because normally when I confide this in someone, their first reaction is, well, just open the email. And it's like, it's not that simple. That's not how this works. That's not how this works at all. So, the thing is like, because the important thing to remember is you're not lazy. And it's not just about trying harder. If those things worked, none of us would have executive functioning issues. None of us would feel the need to seek out support and like-minded people and that kind of thing. If it worked to just try harder, and if it was true that you were just lazy, the fix would be simple. But you are not lazy. You are a hard-ass worker if you are sitting here watching this, because it means that you are willing to acknowledge parts of your brain that other people are not willing to help you acknowledge, and that society doesn't want you to acknowledge. So good on you. You are a hard worker, you are a badass, and you are here learning about yourself. So it's not about being lazy, and it's not about trying harder, because I guarantee you, you're already trying as hard as you possibly can. I know I always am. So don't give up, and frankly, keep on being the awesome humans you all are, because no one needs to cure us. We just need to learn how to work with our own brains. And if that means dealing with a little bit of executive functioning shenanigans, so be it. Live long and prosper, everyone. If you like this video and want to see more content by me at Differently Wired, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video on all social media. Also, you can find a link to my Patreon down below, and I'd really love if you continue to support me. You guys rock, like I said, and I really look forward to making more content for you guys. So until next time, keep it neurodivergent, folks.